The sheer stupidity, Putin's new nuclear threats, and Russian attacks on Avdiivka. This is what we're gonna talk about today, but this is not all. This video would be a little bit of everything. News from Russia, news from Ukraine, not necessarily news but important information. So please stick around, you will learn something, I hope. Thank you for coming, and welcome back to my channel, Enough of Propaganda. Hi, my name is Elena. I am originally from Russia and now I live in Canada for many years. I was born and grew up in the USSR, then lived and worked in Russia, and now I'm a Canadian. But I have a lot of knowledge about Russia, USSR, Russian propaganda, Soviet propaganda, KGB, and the war in Ukraine. I did deep research for many years, over 9 years, of that war, so I can share with you my knowledge, and you're welcome to verify information, and I will show you how to do it and provide you some sources of the information and so on. We will start from important information from yesterday, which is even Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky commented on it, said that Russian drones overnight attacked the city of Slavuta in Khmelnytskyi region. And Ukrainians, they shot them down, but, as he said, their fragments shattered windows, doors and roofs. 2,000 residents were harmed. They received necessary assistance. But the importance of it, that the Khmelnytskyi Nuclear Power Plant is nearby. And he said that, however, was most likely target of Russian drone strike. The heat wave also shattered windows on its premises. And the strike near a nuclear power facility serves as another reminder to all of our partners of the importance of strengthening Ukraine as air defense and the dangers that exist when Russia has ways to basically go around sanctions. And this is important to know. The Russian army putting in danger not just one Khmelnytskyi nuclear plant. You know, I was talking about Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, and this is one of the threats of Russia and Putin using in this war. Meanwhile, Putin is threatening the world with nukes to prevent nuclear attacks, or as a response to somebody, if somebody attack Russia with nuclear weapons for some reason, which nobody intend to do. And Shoigu said that that's how they're preparing to potential nuclear attacks and so on. It was Space Center Plesetsk in Arkhangelsk region. Russia shot the ballistic rocket Yars, and they were shooting at Polygon, Russian military training ground in Kamchatka. Also, from the nuclear power nuclear submarine Tula in Barents Sea, they shot a missile Sineva, it called, like blue sky or something like that. And also the planes, 295 MC, long distance planes, also shot rockets from the air. Also, according to Telegram channel Sirena, the Federation Council approved the law to revoke the ratification of Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. So Putin continuing threatening the world with nukes, and that's what he's doing. Today we're gonna talk about stupidity. And number one is Russian stupidity. First of all, Putin was stupid because he started the war in the first place. And he did a lot of stupid things, but nuclear threats is one of them. It's absolutely stupid thing to do. And putting in danger nuclear power plants and trying to make all those exercises, trying to scare the world, it's plain stupid. Why it is? Because partly Russia doesn't know how to keep their nuclear weapons safe. That is why, in the first place, in the past, there was agreements between Russia and other countries were visiting, and the United States was controlling what is happening on those nuclear facilities and stuff like that. But Putin tried to get rid of it, and now Russian nuclear weapons are kept in the same way as Russian tanks. And as we know on the battlefield from Russians, partly some of these tanks can't move and others can't shoot. So nuclear weapons in Russia kept in such terrible conditions. And so pushing the world and poking everybody with a stick and saying that, yeah, we're gonna use the nukes and this and that, is plain stupid. Put military people, those idiots with the guns who was digging trenches and sitting in the red forest near Chernobyl, that was stupid as well. But letting these monkeys with the grenades into the nuclear power plants is absolutely insane. Yet Putin is doing it. And this is another stupidity. Putin visited China. He decided to go and visit his master. Russia is now Chinese puppet. Why? Because Putin was stupid enough to start the war and cut off Russian supplies to Europe, supplies of gas and oil and so on, to Europe. This was absolutely stupid idea. It's bad for Russian economy. It's bad for everybody, even for Putin himself. Yet, because of his ego, he started the war in Ukraine, and that's why Europe basically refusing support this war by paying for Russian gas and by buying Russian gas. And they now reducing consumption of the gas. And Putin said that, oh, they talk to China, they talk to India, they try to find the new markets. They cannot be as big as Europe. That's his number one. And number two is that those markets, they can't even agree with China to build another pipeline. This is Warthog Defense, what they has to say. So basically, it took 10 years from Russia to persuade China to build the line Power of Siberia 1. Now they were saying, oh, they're going to be Power of Siberia 2. So far, out of this visit, I don't see anything valuable came up for Russia. Nothing. It was useless waste of time.
With a capacity of 38 billion cubic meters per year, Gazprom also has few chances to return to the European market. The Kremlin's gas blackmail forced the EU countries to reduce their consumption and find new suppliers. Demand for gas in the EU will drop by 50 billion cubic meters per year by the end of the decade.
So Russia shoot themselves in the foot. Putin shoot Russia, not just in the foot, Putin shoot Russia in the head. That was plain stupid. Even China giving some weapons to Russia in a roundabout way through some North Korea and stuff like that. And Russia now, so powerful, was considered to be second army in the world. Now it's begging on its knees the weapons from North Korea and Iran of all places. This is unbelievable. How much Putin dropped Russia into the ground and stomped on it, and several Russians still thinking Putin is a good guy. Another stupidity of Putin is that he put Russia in such a position that now only Russian friends are Hamas, North Korea, Iran, Syria, and countries like that, and Venezuela, of all places. This is my channel, and I showed you the video how to verify information, and I have more news about that, which I will talk to you later about it, not probably in this video. The point is, the delegation from Hamas came to Moscow on an unannounced visit, and they say how much they highly appreciated Vladimir Putin's efforts and active Russian support to the terrorist organization. These are the friends of Russia nowadays. And one of the most stupid things Russia is doing right now is turning Avdiivka, the place in Ukraine near Donetsk, which was in Ukrainian hands all these years. Over 9 years Russia was trying to capture that settlement and failed. But now Russia decided to do big offensive there and turn Avdiivka into second Bakhmut, basically. Huge meat grinder, when throwing Russian people into, basically, they call it meat storms, meat grinder, and treating people like they meat, just throwing more and more of them just because Putin decided it's a good idea to capture something by the end of the year, because he wants to be a popular dictator and pretend that he is re-elected next year. He can fake any results he wants, but no, he has to kill a whole bunch of people, Ukrainians and Russians, just because he feels like it should be an election. He just can't say, I'm a dictator and that's what I do. No, he has to pretend that he's loved by people. And for that, Russian and Ukrainians are dying in Avdiivka now. This is a huge stupidity and a huge meat grinder. This is one of the articles about it. Russian battle for Avdiivka threatens to become another meat grinder. I would say it's not threatens. It's already big meat grinder. Because, yes, it compared by some, Vasily Pavlov, for example, military historian, to Battle of Rzhev in World War II. And according to Mr. Podolyak, Ukrainian advisor to the Ukrainian presidential administration, he told to TV Rain that Russia has lost between 5,000 and 6,000 troops in just over a week of offensive in Avdiivka. The recent Russian attacks on Avdiivka have contributed to a 90% increase of Russian casualties recorded by the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense and according to British military intelligence. According to the reports, recent reports, Russia suffering between 150,000 and 190,000 permanent casualties among fallen and wounded soldiers since the start of the war in February 22. And this doesn't include Wagner Group or its prisoner battalions. I would say, as far as I know from different other sources, it's way more than that. Basically, in Avdiivka, Russia losing, like today, over 800 people, the other day, over 1,000 people, and so on. So this is a terrible loss of lives. And only Wagner in Bakhmut lost a lot of lives. But Russians didn't care because that was the prisoners, the murderers who Putin pardoned and released from jails. Now some of them survived and they're coming back after 6 months in the war in Ukraine. Guess what happens? They're killing people in Russia now. But it's the subject and topic for a different video. Today we're gonna talk a little bit about Avdiivka. This is a little bit of footage what happening there. This is deep state map. We wouldn't see much changes in here. You probably all heard about Avdiivka. It's very close to Donetsk, the capital of Donetsk region. And Putin really wants to get that settlement. For 9 years, Russia couldn't do it. And now, in the last few days, there is somewhat movements here and there. But Ukrainians defending themselves, and updates on this map only until 24th of October. Nevertheless, Russians can't take Avdiivka, no matter how many people and equipment they're losing. That's insane amount of people and equipment. This is sheer stupidity. I agree with Ryan O'Leary, one of the Twitter people on Twitter, and he's quite a bit posting interesting information. I'll give you links in the description. You can watch a few videos if you want. The internet full of them, of Russian stupidity, of burning ammunition, and loss of lives. This one is the machinery turning around and back their own soldier. This one even worse. This is Russian occupiers. Shocking footage. They killing their own soldiers. Instead of trying to save them, they killing wounded soldiers. That's how Russians don't leave there behind. It may be they doing it even because those soldiers asked them to, because they know they can't survive wounded in Russian trenches and stuff like that. They don't get help, they don't get support, they don't get medical attention. They just dumped. And probably it may be easier than dying suffering a week later or 3 days later. Who knows? I won't show it, but if you want, you can watch it. These are the losses of Russian occupiers in Ukraine from February 24th to October 26th by the defense of Ukraine. So total losses, almost 300,000. and 810 just in this 2 days. 3 days. Tanks plus 29. Armored combat vehicles 18. Artillery 30. And so on. How stupid from Russian side to continue doing that. And yet, don't expect Putin to stop. He won't stop. He gave an order by the end of the year to capture more territory. And meanwhile, he's thinking that his puppets in Europe and some other countries gonna work for him and stop supporting, make other countries and democratic countries stop supporting Ukraine. That's what he's hoped for. That's all these losses of lives, Russian lives and Ukrainian lives, just for Putin could sit on the throne extra day. And he's waiting, he's sitting and waiting that we democratic countries will tie to supporting Ukraine, will be tied, and or the propaganda, Russian propaganda gonna work in our countries. That is why I'm combating Russian propaganda, because this is what he is expecting to happen. That as soon as he drag it long enough, so and plus instigate lots of conflicts in other places, like Israel, for example, Russia is definitely in it. As I just showed you, Hamas came to Moscow and thanking Putin. Meanwhile, he trying to throw logs in every fire across the globe just to distract us from Ukraine and from helping Ukraine. And he is full of hope that Ukraine will be, that we will stop supporting Ukraine. And to buy that time, he's throwing in the meat grinder people, Russians and Ukrainians. What was always bothering me about USSR and Russia, that how come that nobody in the country asking questions about why in the World War II, during Stalin time, when Stalin was, now Putin is trying to present Stalin again like he's somebody smart or anything, almost 27 million Russian and Ukrainian and every other nationality of people, ethnicity, of all over the USSR, from all 15 republics, died. Almost 27 million, as far as we know. And without any war, around, I guess, 10 million Stalin killed without any war. So, how come almost 40 million people get murdered by Stalin and his regime? And nobody care. Nobody care about why such huge losses. No one other country lost as many people during World War II. Not even Germany, which is maximum over 8 million people. And Germany started this war. Germany lost the war. Why nobody care? I was astonished to see in 2014 how Russian throw just Russian people in the meat grinder, like a meat. That is why, because nobody was care how come that many people died and nobody was responsible. Nobody was, Stalin was, Khrushchev said Stalin was a bad guy, but now it started to get forgotten. The monuments to Stalin getting erected in Russia again. And nobody care. So all these huge losses, why they were necessary? They wasn't. It was stupidity. It was crime. It was deliberate extermination of people. And now, we're putting Stalin's monuments back in Russia. Russian people allow that to happen. No doubt that stuff like that happening in Bakhmut, happening now in Avdiivka, and they keep throwing and throwing people into the meat grinder. Like meat. And nobody care. This post is from October 18th. These are confirmed losses of Russian military equipment. 63 vehicles at the time. Now is way more. So this is all Russian losses. Just to buy Putin some time. This is Kiev Post article. Particularly tough. Russia's Avdiivka assault contained, but more forces incoming. And you're welcome to read the article by yourself and Ukrainians keep defending Avdiivka just because it's meat-grinding Russian troops, and they're trying to fight for the piles of garbage, which is kind of higher ground, and trying to put Russian flag in it, and the Ukrainians just by drones bombed it and get rid of it. And Russians again lining up their vehicles in line and losing a lot. They're trying to... So you're welcome to see the videos here and so on, and read the article by yourself. This is very interesting channel of Jake Bro, which I recommend. He has lots of videos on about different things, about ATACMS. I'll tell you a few words also, and so on. And no, I'm not gonna commenting on so-called heart attack of Putin, because I don't do conspiracy theories and something which is unproved at all. Like, basically every month somebody saying, oh, Putin is dead, or Putin is dying, or Putin is sick, and this and that. So no, I'm not gonna do it. And as you probably know, Ukraine got ATACMS. And it did help a lot. As far as you probably know already, but it is very important to remember and understand that 2 places was attacked. And the war zone kind of talked about it, that ATACMS hit battlefield in Ukraine in spectacular fashion. And they're talking about attacks on Lugansk airfield and Berdyansk airfield. It originally was saying that 9 helicopters were destroyed. But I heard from 24 to 26 recently. It's because not all the helicopters gonna burn down completely, but ATACMS shooting, these ATACMS were shooting cluster ammunition, and their impact on the planes or helicopters which were around is devastating. You cannot use them because they're all that little shrapnel, basically destroying them beyond quick repair. Some of them will take years probably to repair, if possible at all. And Russians confirmed it and lots of information about it, so I'm just reporting on it because this was an important thing. Putin is saying, why supply ATACMS? Just come over, we'll have a tea with the crepes, and that's what he's saying. It's devastating. ATACMS work, and they work well. That destruction of those 2 airfields is an iron proof of that, and now Russia moving their equipment, moving their planes, moving their helicopters now on the distance over 150, 165 kilometers, so ATACMS couldn't get them. Because whatever was in those airfields, a lot of it was destroyed, completely destroyed. Or completely completely unusable. Even if it looks maybe okay, but with all that shrapnel going through, they can't be used again. Until a lot of repairs, maybe some parts could be salvaged or whatever. So it is working. Putin is saying that it is funny. Why they need ATACMS? This is funny. The war is lost. At first, when I saw it just first time, I thought Russia... He understands that Russia lost the war. No, he's thinking Ukraine lost the war. The country who doesn't have a fleet, Ukraine, destroyed a bunch of Russian ships, including Moskva ship, including the submarine, and moved Russian fleet, had to run away and hide in Novorossiysk and some other harbors. They can't even go everywhere in the Black Sea as they used to. And that's the country who doesn't even have a fleet. Yeah, Putin, it's funny. Russian people died, like those ATACMS I just showed you in that airports. Whole bunch of Russian helicopters destroyed and planes. People died. And now Putin is really desperate. He's losing the war in Ukraine. I'm not sure how much he's aware of that, because nobody would dare to tell him that things are going bad, really bad. No matter what, he isn't gonna stop. He isn't gonna feel sorry for Russian soldiers. And I heard very interesting comment from Ukrainian side that if Russia claiming that Ukraine give the weapons to Hamas, which is a lie, selling them weapons which Ukraine received from Western allies, there is no ground for that at all. Mind this. But let's pretend that there is. So why Putin wanted Russian people to die on the battlefield? Why he won't just go to Ukraine and buy weapons from Ukraine if that's so easy? If Ukraine selling weapons to the right and to the left, selling weapons to Hamas, why wouldn't they sell it to Russia? Well, Russia could pretend it's not Russia, it's someone else. Go buy weapons from Ukraine. Western weapons. Why not? Because Ukraine does not selling Western weapons. Ukraine needed to fight. And this post by Roman Sheremeta about Elon Musk, who has recommended Ukraine to stop its futile fight and get to the ceasefire. This is what Putin wants. Every person, every politician, every useful idiot, even smart people like Elon Musk can say and do stupid things. This is stupidity as it gets. Russia wants to destroy Ukraine and kill Ukrainians. Russia does not want peace. Russia wants ceasefire to bring more troops and kill more people. Maybe make another mobilization, which Putin trying not to do before his re-election, which is fake election anyway, but he is trying not to upset Russians by dragging their loved ones into the army just right before the elections. After elections, fine. So he trying to drag it before March, and he will be using every useful idiot, every his agent, everybody who he forced or bribed or lied to be useful. And it is not acceptable. Of course, Mr. Sheremeta said it very in a rude manner about Mr. Elon Musk, but I think Musk deserved it. And yeah, Sheremeta pointed out absolutely correctly. He said, I wonder what this morally bankrupt idiot would tell his daughter in case she was raped. Don't resist, just enjoy it. Musk is a sick individual. I don't think he's sick, I just thinking he's misinformed. But just because he was successful in business and this and that, he's thinking way too highly of himself. Or he just a Putin's puppet. And I'm not gonna intend to discover which one thing is that. The point is, even smart people can do mistakes. And they can be wrong. In this case, Mr. Musk is wrong. Very much wrong. To explain Mr. Musk why he's wrong and how much he's wrong, if you go into playlist on my channel and you go into the important to know about the war in Ukraine, I have lots of different videos, some of them more like a news like today, and some of them bigger than that, which could be watched anytime. I have this video, why Elon Musk was wrong about Ukraine. They're exactly explaining why. And you're welcome to watch that too. So despite the Putin and Musk saying one thing or another, ATACMS were useful, and the help which Western world, democratic world providing to Ukraine is very useful. This is the reason that we're not at war with Russia yet, because Ukraine standing between us and Russian murderous dictator, and we need to support Ukraine. More stupidity these days. And this is Valentina Tereshkova, the first lady in space, the first woman in space. While I was traveling, I made a video from from Evergreen Aviation Museum, and I'll show you sometime on this channel. But meanwhile, she's saying the stupidest things. She's saying that it's a right of a deputy of parliament, of Russian parliament, Gosduma, State Duma, that it's okay to demand kill 20% of Russians. What she's referring to, there is such a deputy of Duma, deputy of parliament, Andrei Gurulev, who's proposed to destroy 20% of Russians. It's about 29 million people, who doesn't trust Russian President Vladimir Putin. And now Tereshkova, the first woman in space, thinking, yeah, it's okay, yeah, he can say that, it's his opinion. Good one. The stupidity in Russia is unbelievable. What is also unbelievable is that torture in Russia, and not just during the war in Ukraine. Apparently it was happening before, and I also didn't know that when I still lived in Russia. This is the important stories. A channel, they have videos and they have their own website. They're talking about how Russian soldiers were tortured in Russia. They was beat up, they put in handcuffs, and some of them was thrown in a hole in the ground. And this is what important stories and conflict intelligence team find out on the Russian territory, on the territory of Russian training grounds, the torture holes in the ground for people, where they put soldiers before sending them to the front in Ukraine. And even Dmitry Medvedev and Shoigu visited those training grounds because it's one of the best. And sorry to say that one of them is Prudboy, the ground in Volgograd region, where I'm from Volgograd. And another one, Totsky, in Orenburg region. And it considered, Prudboy and Volgograd region considered the best training ground for Russian military forces. But of course, they're saying that, of course, they wouldn't show that to Medvedev or to Shoigu. They only will show the best and the super places. They're not gonna show, look, this is the hole in the ground and there are people who was sitting in there, thrown in there, without food, without water. They just dig in the ground, making a big hole and throw people there as a torture. And apparently, and there is a bunch of evidence of that, and so on. 2 people were apparently in 1998, when I was still there. The 19-year-old Alexei Rybakov was thrown in one of those holes, and another guy survived and Rybakov died. Because some people came inspecting the territory, like some high-rank officers, and they decided, well, it's not okay to show them that there are people who we throw in that hole. We just put dirt on top of it, and Rybakov died. You know what crime he committed to be thrown in that hole in the ground? Apparently, Russian uniform has like a inside lining of their collar. It's white and you have to sometimes cut it off and wash it and then sew it back. He didn't clean it enough. And something else he said or something did. And that's why he was thrown in the hole in the ground. And one person survived and Rybakov died. And that was when I still was in Russia. But of course Russia doesn't report on any of this. So we didn't even know it happening right in our region. Meanwhile, Russian Orthodox Church leader, KGB guy Gundyaev, Russian Patriarch, saying that we blessed that God give us nuclear weapons. And he continuing to support Putin in his murderous attempt to kill Ukrainians, which is also used to be part of Russian Orthodox Church. It's just disgusting, stupid, and unbelievable. Foreign countries also do stupid things. This is Viktor Orban, the leader of Hungary. In Hungary, during the SSR and after joining European Union, when I was writing my book for Russians, I was looking at Hungary as an example how much everything, including economic everything, went high up after Hungary joined European Union. That was prime example how much better the country started to do with doing that. Yet he dared to compare that European Union and Hungary in European Union, the treatment of the USSR, when USSR brought troops in 1956 in Hungary and squashed Hungarian rebellion for freedom, kill people. Unbelievable. Haven't he ever heard of Brexit? Nobody was bombing United Kingdom. And European Union isn't USSR. You can join, you can leave. If Hungary doesn't appreciate European Union, maybe they should leave. But apparently not everybody thinking like Orban, and there is protests going on in Hungary against his stupid decisions and stupid ideas to support Russian stupid dictator Putin. Now, according to Anton Gerashchenko, there are symbolic pictures. This is Putin and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban have met in China. Orban assured Putin that he wants to develop economic cooperation with Russia, doesn't support sanctions against Moscow. And before that, Orban visited Moscow. And this is Miklos Horthy, regent of Hungary with Adolf Hitler. This is very significant. I think Hungary should think about who they elect. Another stupidity is happening to Slovakia, when newly appointed Prime Minister Robert Fico decided not to back further military aid to Ukraine and not supposed to support further sanctions against Russia at European Union summit. So, it's not just Russia who acting stupidly. Some other countries. Putin actually, his waiting time paid off in some countries when some of his puppets getting elected. The stupidity of that is unbelievable. Nevertheless, democratic countries and independent countries will support Ukraine. This is cluster ammunitions which actually worked really well, and Russia used it since day one. And on the populated areas of cities like Kharkiv and so on. And despite ignorant people who didn't know what it is, Ukraine got it, Ukraine used it for about 3 months, and it works. And we will support Ukraine for as long as it takes. Putin has no hope. Thank you for watching my videos. Please like, subscribe, and until next time, learn the truth and stay informed. Thank you. See you later.